Welcome to The Young and the Restless. I'm Zach.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Victor. And this is the podcast where, in order to catch him, he must become him.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I dreamt I had a soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, will that dream just go on for its own sake?
Uh-oh. I feel like a really big burp coming on. I want to get.
Let's hear it.
I want to get
Let's
it out
hear
of
it.
the way.
There were like some early burps, like decompressing. Oh man.
Ugh. God
It's like
damn.
4 burps.
Do you ever
Still
get
some
one
in
like
there?
stuck in your chest?
Yeah, it's no good.
Ugh.
That's the worst.
Your Peanuts mic check made me think of this joke I heard recently. I know a Polish sound guy. I also know a Czech one too.
Classic.
Hey.
Hey,
It's one of those jokes that you read and you don't laugh out loud at. You're just like, nice. A Czech one too.
So I've got this pair of headphones that I'm wearing right now that are totally functional, but the like plastic cover over like the cushion part has like been slowly disintegrating for what feels like multiple years now. So every time I record this podcast or come out here to record or do anything here, I end up leaving with like little flakes of like little wispy black plastic all over my head and my shoulders. It's like thick black dandruff everywhere.
Headphone dandruff.
I've had a pair like that before.
But like they're nice headphones.
Damn it.
It doesn't seem worth it to replace them. No, that was 5.
That was the tail end. That was what was stuck. I don't want to be one of those podcasts that burps on the mic. It's just poorly timed. I normally get it all out of the way before we hit record.
We're gonna be talking about your burps, but they're gonna be under the noise gate, and so we're not gonna be able to hear them.
Too basic.
I don't know if those ones will be
burps.
under the noise gate.
Maybe not.
We can also just cut them out entirely.
No, they're an important
I
part
think
of
we
the
should
intro
bleep
now.
And
them.
all the conversation. Do we know what we want to talk about today, dreams wise? Or did you,
If no one else has them, I have plenty. But if anyone else has something they want to share, you're welcome to.
Yeah,
For
you
a
got
while, I
anything?
feel like we were like rotating between the three of us.
yeah, then we had a listener dream.
6.
I thought
We just gotta embrace the
thought I
burps.
was
They're
empty.
a part of the show now.
I just cracked this beer. And it's my first one and my only one today because it's a weeknight. But no, I feel like I haven't had a dream in a minute, and I had a really weird one last night.
Oh, well, we
cool.
should do that. But before we do anything, I have a public service announcement for the people.
Hokey ducky.
Vanilla ice cream.
Oh, God.
No. Listen to me. Put soy sauce on it. This is not a pregnancy thing. I swear to God.
Sure sounds
It's
like
kind of
one.
a pregnancy thing, in my opinion.
It tastes like salted caramel.
Well, there's definitely salt involved
I am telling you,
and sugar.
just try it. Someone try it and tell me I'm crazy. I dare you.
I did get like a salted caramel kind of energy off of it, but like it seemed cursed.
It was so good. I'm never gonna eat vanilla ice cream without soy sauce again.
I do like salted peanuts on vanilla ice cream,
I think you would probably like it.
and I like.
You should try it.
I used to like dipping the French fries in the Frosty at Wendy's.
I'm telling you, Zach, this is your shit. Do you have ice cream? Because you should do that. Do it later. Report back to me, please.
I don't have any ice cream. I have some really nice soy sauce though.
I don't condone this BS. I don't co-sign it.
But-
I'm not telling the people to go out and put soy sauce. on
Victor
vanilla ice
doesn't
cream.
like soy sauce, though.
That's true.
You don't like salt?
I mean, soy sauce is fine, but like, not crazy about it.
He doesn't like soy
It
sauce.
just tastes like sodium to me. Like it's just salty.
Hmm.
But I feel like this is what's gonna make us viral. This is gonna turn into like a pineapple on pizza debate on the internet. Does soy sauce belong on ice cream? Right into the Jung and the Restless pod at gmail.com.
It does.
We have one pro, one against, and one pending because I have to go try it.
Yes, please be the tiebreaker here because the way my husband is shaking his head at me, like I've never really wanted to hit him before. I feel gaslit.
I don't feel like I'm going to hate it. I don't think I'm going to be like against it. I feel like I'm either going to love it or be ambivalent.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just an affront to God.
I think that's how the pineapple on pizza people feel. Because it's objectively delicious.
I love pineapple. Yeah, right?
It's
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like all tropical fruit in a savory, especially like tomato-y kind of like mango salsa, like anything like that, I think is fucking bomb. But some people just have weird principles.
I mean, I started thinking about other tropical fruits in tomato sauce, and I don't know if that's like a blanket statement we can make, but
I don't know.
Pineapple on pizza is good.
There was this restaurant in Colorado called Rasta Pasta that built their whole establishment on that. Potentially just because those two words rhyme. But it was like Italian Jamaican fusion, and like it was like
interesting.
You get like some like manicotti with like grapes and bananas, and it was delicious.
They went with pasta rasta? It feels like the other way around.
Rasta pasta.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's the more intuitive. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they have 3 locations.
Wow. Nice. Doing well.
Yeah. I mean, not after COVID, but I don't think that was purely the menu's fault.
I want to hear your weird dream.
Okay. I wrote this down at 3 a.m, and I haven't looked at it since, so hopefully I won't be too rambly. Okay, so the interesting thing about this is it's a dream, and then there's like a weird dream phenomenon thing that happened after I woke up. Okay, so here's what I wrote down about the dream itself. Nazi paintball fight. Big castle courtyard. And then this sentence. Fabulous former Hitler youth march in like a fashion show. So it's this paintball war that's going on in this big, like open courtyard that's like has a lot of like cliffs and hills and trees and like a river running through it. And it's my understanding that it's an actual war, like World War II, like we're fighting the Nazis. And the fabulous former Hitler youth was like there were all these kids that were formerly on the Axis side that like we had converted. I remember one of them was my my little niece, second cousin, my cousin's kid, whatever, a little kid, and she's wearing this like really like fashion show elaborate kind of like SS uniform, and she's strutting like she's on a catwalk, and I'm like, you go get him, because she's going to be fighting the Nazis. She's a turncoat in favor of the Allies. And again, it's my understanding that this is an actual war and like there are actual stakes. And I can see that they're shooting paintballs at me, and I'm like ducking them. Like one almost hits me in the head, but I'm like, these must be lethal paintballs. I must die if I get hit by one. And I don't have any weapons, so I'm trying to improvise. I'm trying to like do guerrilla warfare. And I see this guy crouching behind a rock, and he's downhill from me. So I roll a rock at him. Like I just upturn this big rock and roll it down the hill. And it hits him in the side and like pins his arm against another rock. And he goes, like he yells out like, broken arm. like it's I don't know, like if you've ever played baseball in the street and you're like, car. Like it has that kind of like, broken arm, like time out, dude. And everyone stops, and I'm like, oh shit, I think I fucked up. And then he like turns around and he slips off this cliffside, and he fall. Have you guys seen the movie Sissy?
No.
It's a horror movie. It's on Shudder. The kills in it are really like unsettling in how like realistic they feel. And one of them is a guy getting pushed off a cliff, and it felt like that. Like that was like, it was really unnervingly real feeling. Yet at the bottom of the cliff, he's like laying there like broken in half basically, and he still has that. He's still doing the voice like, oh fuck, I think I'm dead. guys, I think I'm definitely going to die. And despite how silly the dialogue in the dream is, the whole thing takes a somber turn because this guy just like is like, he's going to need to be like airlifted out from this paintball match because I thought it was real. And like a friend of mine that I don't recognize from real life, but in the dream, I understand he's my friend. He comes up and he's like, this sucks, dude. This super sucks. And he's like telling me like stories about 911 dispatchers. It's like just like rambling at me about like tangential sort of stuff that has to do with like emergency, life-threatening situations. All the while just being like, this super sucks, dude. And I'm riddled with guilt. I don't know how to tell anyone that like I rolled a real rock at this guy, like trying to kill this guy. And when his arm first broke, I was like, yay, I'm a hero. And then as I realized that it was just a paintball game, I felt sick to my stomach. And then this is kind of a part 2. I didn't realize how long it would take me to tell that first part. But I'll just power on. Because I wrote here later, or maybe from that point. So I do feel like this continued directly from that dream. But I have this really good friend named Nick, really close friend. And in the dream, I'm showing him photos on my phone from my gallery or whatever. And I realized that some of them are from this dream that I'm having.
Oh.
Like they're photos that I took earlier in the dream. And I'm actually within the dream remembering previous dreams that I had forgotten about.
That's what we were talking about. That's what I was talking to you about last episode, or like last time we recorded.
Was that last one?
I think so. But I was talking about how I have like a dream memory bank, like memories that are connected to a series of dreams, or like that only exist in a dream, and I remember previous dreams during a dream.
Oh, but from the same night though?
No.
Okay.
From like months ago.
This was from the same night.
Oh,
like
okay,
I'm remembering dreams I had whatever. It felt like 20 minutes ago. It was probably hours.
Okay, gotcha. But did you remember them before? Like,
no. Well,
I guess you were asleep, but.
Well, that was the weird thing is I'm looking at these pictures and I'm like, oh shit, these were dreams, and they're not. It's not dream logic. I remember the dream. Like I'm jogging my own memory of dreams that I definitely did have earlier that night, which because of that mathematics, I now think I'm awake. So I think that I have the actual technology to photograph dreams.
Oh, uh-huh.
And so I'm getting really stoked. I'm like, Nick, dude, these were dreams. Like, I remember this one. I had this dream last night and I'm like freaking out. And as I'm scrolling through, I keep going back to other pictures, or I keep going back to pictures I'd already looked at, and they keep changing. And specifically the subject in the photo keeps changing. Like, there's one example I wrote down here. One of them is me, but then when I scroll back to it, it looks kind of like me, but also like this, like an older family member, like maybe my grandfather. And then the third time I scroll back to it, it's like an ornamental golden nest, like this, like bird's nest. And then when I scroll back to it a fourth time, there's no subject. It's the same background, but there's no one in the picture. And this keeps happening with all the photos in the gallery until they're all just like liminal spaces. Like one is a warehouse, one's a hospital room, and the subject keeps disappearing. And I'm like still excited to Nick. I'm like, you saw that, right? You saw that I was in that picture, and now I'm not. Like the dream is fading from my photo of it. And then there's one that had both him and I in it originally. And it's of me in the hospital bed, and I have an IV in my arm, and Nick is by my bedside. And then, eventually that fades away to just a hospital room. But in the picture, Nick and I both had short hair, like buzz short, which hasn't been the case since like college. We went to college together. And that was the first picture I saw in the gallery that made me realize these were dreams, because I was like, that's my lucid dreaming technique, is that doesn't actually look like me. Usually it's a mirror, but in this case it was a photograph that didn't look like me.
Wait, so it did look like a different person, or it looked like you, but when you saw it, the thought you had was that's not me. Like,
well,
did
it was
like...
me from it looked like me, but it was like me from like 10 years ago.
Gotcha.
And that's actually an event that happened in real life, which I'll get into later. The hospital thing.
Oh, okay.
But the hospital room looked weird and creepy and like very like cast in like red light. But it was the hair, and this is important for the next thing. I'm almost done, I swear. The short hair giving it away as a dream was important because I woke up and I laid there thinking about this dream for a while. And when I had the thought about the hair, I swear to God, you guys, I was fully awake at this time. I felt a hand on the back of my head, like do this with my hair, like run its fingers up my head, and I whipped around. Obviously, no one's there, but then I'm facing the clock. It was 3 a.m. exactly.
Oh my God.
Oof.
No, thank you.
I got up.
Its fingers.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell a gender. But yeah, I got out of bed and went to the bathroom, turned the lights on, stood there for a while until I had calmed down enough to write this dream down.
I feel like you had another dream that maybe ended in a... Did your other dream with the broken arm that we also referenced recently, did that end in a hospital room? Oh, okay. I'm mixing up dreams then.
No, we were in a gymnasium. I was trying to fix his arm.
Yeah, what was the real life hospital context with you and this guy?
Oh, back in college, I had my first panic attack. And I didn't... I had heard of panic attacks, but I didn't know what they felt like. I didn't know that you would be convinced you're dying. When you have a full-blown panic attack, you because your body's not getting any oxygen, your muscles seize up. And when you're not getting enough oxygen, your brain starts to panic even more, and it starts sending all of the mayday signals because you're literally suffocating. And so I thought I was having a seizure or a stroke or something. And so I had Nick drive me to the hospital, and the cause of the panic attack was it was finals week of our last year in college, and I hadn't slept in a week, and was subsisting on 500 calories a day and a liter of coffee. So that's why I had a panic attack. But because I was severely dehydrated when I got to the ER, they put an IV in me. It was mostly saline solution with a drop of something that chilled me the fuck out. But anyway, Nick was there for that whole thing. The nurse thought we were a couple. It was pretty cute. On our way out, the nurse turned to Nick and was like, "If he has any more issues, just bring him back, okay?" But yeah. So that one photograph in the camera reel was reminiscent of that.
That's really interesting. Do you have any other key associations with this guy, or is that memory kind of the main connection that you have there?
No, I mean he's been my best friend since college, and he lives in LA.
Oh,
he lives in LA. I still see him all the time.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's not the only thing that you think of when you think of him.
No,
it's you guys have an established relationship.
Yeah, yeah, with lots of stories and memorable events.
Gotcha. So that's really interesting.
That one is actually pretty random, or feels random.
Yeah.
Do you have any first right off the bat impressions about what the stream might be about, or are you all in the dark on this one?
Oh, I think the end of it was a ghost. It's
yeah, that was for sure.
I don't know about that.
No, I'm sure that was the hair on the back of my neck standing up from being creeped out. But it was so weird, at the base of my the nape of my neck, that's what it felt like. And then as it kept going up, I was like, what the that?
Yeah, I don't like that.
That startled me a lot.
I think there's 5% chance it was a rational explanation, 95% ghost.
I thought you were gonna go inverse on that.
No.
Not comforting.
Okay, so the first part of the dream where you think it kind of reminded me of dreams that I think you and I both had, the overreaction dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
You overreacted because you're responding to what you thought was a real threat, but it as soon as you did something, then it's like, oh no, this was just a game and you took it too far and now the day is ruined.
I literally thought
misreading a social situation.
Yeah, I literally thought it was World War II. I thought I was trying to kill a Nazi with my bare hands. And if anything, my rolling a rock at it was like a weak, pathetic attempt.
Right.
Like I didn't explode in anger or have any like big emotions until guilt. Like I didn't feel anger or rage or like, it was more like, oh shit, we're fighting Nazis, rock. And then it wasn't until like I realized I had like potentially just killed some dude that I started feeling an intense emotion, which was just guilt. That was like the predominant. And like
it is really funny though that after you did that, this guy just for a while is going like, help, my arm,
broken arm.
I think I'm definitely dead, guys. That was one thing he said at one point.
Do you want to gestalt this one because it's a little dense? Maybe as like a starting point.
Maybe, yeah. It does feel like I told them back to back because they flowed together, but now I'm doubting how connected they are. I think
I'm sure they're connected. I'm sure they are.
Because the first one feels like a typical dream with like symbol kind of meaning, and the second one was the one that stood out more because
I think there was a lot of symbols in the second one, like photographs and like the golden nest. That seems very symbolic.
But the mechanic
and photographs are like a memories thing.
The mechanic
and you're with an old friend, so
the mechanism of me being convinced that I was awake and had woken up with evidence of dream photography was like a new thing. And then the feeling of it slipping away and like being excited, but also scared and also kind of creeped out by because the photographs were they're kind of like AI art. Like they're eerie in that kind of way, especially once the subject faded out and it was just like an empty like warehouse or something.
Were you getting creeped out during the dream while you were seeing that?
A little bit, but a lot more once I woke up and like was still seeing, like I could still picture it fresh in my mind. And that was when I got really creeped, especially when I had the hand hallucination.
What about it was creepy? Because I could see it not necessarily being creepy, right? Like if you told that story, I could see it not necessarily creeping you out. So what about it creeps you out?
I mean, do you ever get creeped out looking at like weird photos? Because that's like a whole like genre of internet entertainment, is looking at like liminal spaces and
is that what it was? The like surrealness of the pictures, like the pictures had like negative energy, I guess.
Yeah, and the people in them were uncanny, like they didn't quite look right. And then when the spaces were empty, especially since it was like a fucking Harry Potter situation where the subject of the photo can just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was spooky.
Can you run me through what photographs you remember again? There was the bird's nest.
Yeah, and that was in like hospital. A mobile home. It was like inside a mobile home, and it was like a close up or like a bust photo of my face. And when I looked at it again, it was like a much older man that I didn't recognize from real life. He looked like an older me. And in the dream, I was like, maybe that's my grandfather. And then the third time, it was the weird golden nest thing.
Interesting.
So first time, wait, you
first
said there was a bird's
you
nest
from the past, right? You like from college?
That was the hospital photo.
When did that happen?
That was in the same sequence of me scrolling through my phone.
Okay.
But towards the end, the old man in the mobile home came first.
Okay.
So first it was a picture of you in a mobile home.
Yeah.
And then it was a picture of an old man in a mobile home that you thought might be an older version of you.
Yeah.
And then the last form it took was a golden bird's nest.
Yeah. And that was the same photo that kept changing.
That's very interesting.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Let me just write this down on my clipboard.
And then
recommend strong medication for the patient.
There was one in the middle that was like the inside of a warehouse, and it was like looking up at this window that had been like had rocks thrown through it, like it was all dilapidated. And there's a girl sitting in the windowsill, and I can't see who that is because she's backlit. She's like a silhouette. And she just sort of disappears from that photo. So it's just an empty warehouse. And then the last one I remember is the hospital one.
Did all of the pictures start with people and empty?
As far as I can remember, yeah. I mean, all the ones that because in the dream, it took the form of it looked like my photo gallery from my phone, where it's like little blocks and you tap one and it fills the screen. So
Yeah.
everyone I tapped on, I remember there being a subject, but I also feel like in between, like in the camera roll, there were a lot of just environments, landscapes.
But it kind of suggests like that those were already faded in some way. Like
Maybe.
that there maybe would have been subjects in there, but they're gone now.
Yeah, and once I got the sense that the subjects were fading from the pictures, it became urgent, and I was like trying to go through each one with a subject to see how it had changed.
Gotcha.
Also trying to get Nick to like, that was the other thing. It's like I was really urgently like trying to get second party verification with Nick, and he was just like, "Cool, buddy." Like he was supportive, but like not interested.
Oh, that's so annoying.
I know.
That happens to me in dreams too, where I'm like, look at it, how amazing this is. They're like, nice. Like, no, the sky's on fire. Cool.
It sure is.
And so the connection between the two dreams, was there like a picture of the dream, of the first dream in the second dream? Or was it just that you like rolled into the second dream, like with the memory of having just been in the first dream?
Yeah, I think they were literally back to back. Like I was still in the courtyard area where we were waiting on medical attention for this guy that I had just killed.
That's kind of like what happened in mine last week, where it was like one dream that we cracked, and then I stepped outside, and like the second dream begins.
Mhm.
It's like they're connected just by time, but like
Yeah.
that makes me think that they're connected though. Like I feel like the way your brain works is like, you know, stream of consciousness. It's probably all kind of one thing.
Yeah, and when I was standing there in that courtyard and I opened the phone, like, I don't know, I'm getting the sense that maybe I was trying to distract myself, like I was trying to act like I was on my phone, and so I wouldn't look guilty for having just killed this guy. But once I like saw these photos and I remembered, because I like, again at this point I thought I was awake, but I remembered that these photos were from dreams. So I had ostensibly had a dream about a mobile home and a warehouse and the hospital. And in the dream, I was convinced that I had those dreams. Like I remembered them as dreams, but I don't know that I actually dreamt them before that moment.
Yeah. That's kind of like deja vu, right?
Yeah. But it's all happening within a dream. So I don't know if it was
but you've been talking about deja vu a lot.
I don't know if I
lately.
actually remembered a dream within a dream or if I fabricated a memory. You know, if all the photographs were actually new information that my dream logic was deciding was recycled.
I would guess that that's more likely, or at least that's what I've experienced, is like constructed memories in dreams. And sometimes I'll have dreams that like are that kind of manifest as if I am like vividly remembering something in real life that I had forgotten. And then I'll like wake up and it'll kind of follow me like a memory that I had, and then I'll have to like realize that it wasn't true. Like I remember having like a really vivid dream that was like doing like a music video with David Bowie. And then waking up and being like, you know, I didn't do too much with music, but it was really cool that I got to do that with David Bowie. And then like a couple minutes later being like, that definitely didn't happen.
Yeah, you had an Olivia moment of invented reality. But
So do I do that?
yeah, we were talking about that the other day when you like made up a client that didn't exist at our old job.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Except you were fully awake.
But that happens to me waking up from dreams too, where like the reality of the dream lingers longer.
Yeah, but when you remember
past waking
an
up.
old dream within a new dream, because you have such a consistent memory bank for dreams, you have a better idea of whether or not you actually did have that dream or if it was a falsified memory.
So when that has happened, I remember a dream that I had like maybe months ago. And upon waking up, I can recall that dream from months ago. And I know that I did have that dream. Like I remember the whole dream more than just the flash of remembering it within the dream.
Right.
Like,
So I wish I had a better dream memory like that so that I could know for sure if these photographs were from earlier that night or if they were a new part of this dream. But
I kind of feel like they're more likely to be part of this dream. Like I feel
new
like you
part
would
of this
remember I feel like you would remember the dreams. Like, do you remember more than the photographs? Like, do you remember what dreams they were referencing, or do you just remember the photographs?
I thought I did in the dream, but like that detail is gone now.
Okay, gotcha.
Like in the dream, I was convinced that I was awake and that I had those dreams, and I remembered those dreams, and I even remembered taking photos of the dreams. But then finding the photos on the phone was like, oh shit, I forgot I took these. I didn't know I would wake up with them.
Right.
But that moment of looking through the phone and like seeing these changing photographs, that definitely, I was trying to think of how to gestalt this, and that's the part with the most energy, but I don't know how to.
That could work.
I don't know what.
Do you want to be the
thing
phone
to hang the energy on though?
Mm.
The phone,
Yeah.
the phones, the environments, the photos.
The camera, like the camera roll, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that all kind of feel like one thing to you?
Kind of. It was like a moment more than it was like a figure. Definitely not Nick. I feel like Nick was there to be like just a mirror. He was just like the archetype of a best friend, just somebody to be there for me to be like, dude, look.
Yeah.
Although the real life memory of him taking me to the hospital is like, that's an interesting choice for my brain to make, because that is like a good example of like real friendship.
Definitely.
Like he didn't know.
Well, and
he
like,
didn't even know how to drive a stick. He dropped everything he was doing to like grind my car in first gear over to the hospital.
and I mean, you connecting it to like your first panic attack, right? Like it's hard to ignore that could very well be connected to some of the meaning there, right?
Yeah, which could connect it to the first dream if that was like an anxiety and a dream about like fucking up or some sort of generalized anxiety.
Yeah, I feel like there's like, I mean, the first dream is interesting and it's kind of like a fun dream, but it feels like there's more depth to the second dream.
Yeah.
Like there's more to explore there. I pulled up a couple dream Bible entries if we want to dive into that, but if something is like drawing energy for you to gestalt it, that might be a good place to go too. Yeah,
let's get into some symbols while I marinate on that, because I definitely this dream had like the most energy of any dream I've had in a while because of that, like the really weird sensation of the camera roll thing. I just don't know how to like step back into that moment. So
yeah. So I'm going to start with the dreams entry just for context, because you're kind of meta dreaming. I don't know that there's anything there, but to dream that you were dreaming represents a realization that something in your life wasn't as serious as you thought it was. Now that's interesting, because that was the big reveal in the first dream, was that something was not as serious as you thought it was.
Which
it wasn't World War II, it was paintball.
Right, which consequently made my action more serious.
Right. Positively, this reflects worries that are overblown. You might have been afraid or concerned about something in a life situation, prove that you were overreacting. Negatively, a dream within a dream can point to disappointments, letdowns, or something you thought was wonderful not turning out the way you thought it would. Yeah, so like overall, maybe like an awareness that like your perception is not like accurate. Like you have a skewed perception on something, either positively or negatively, is kind of what you're getting out of dreams here.
And like anxiety can do that, right?
Sure, yeah. And then I have pictures. To dream of a picture or photograph represents a memory or mental imprint of an experience you had, how a situation was remembered or is perceived by you after it has occurred, a lasting impression, ensuring remembrance. To dream of taking pictures may reflect the importance you feel in remembering current actions at a later time, a wish to remember yourself as having done the right thing. Negatively, pictures may reflect a bad memory of yourself, memories of yourself having made a mistake, not stood up for yourself, or having embarrassed yourself. A bad impression of our past behavior or actions. Remembering something bad, trying to manipulate how an event is remembered. Alternatively, it may reflect an intentional choice to take action so that something will be remembered in a negative way. Look at the content for other symbolism.
Which you have the disappearing entry pulled up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so photographs are like memory, and then also like maybe how memory can be like how your relationship with your memory, are you skewing it, or are you like negative or positive? And then you've got dreams being like a skewed perception. So then to disappear, to dream that a person or object disappeared before your eyes reflects feelings of not having given sufficient attention to an aspect of your life, or aspect of yourself or your life. You may feel you haven't had enough time to get acquainted with a person or situation. An opportunity has passed by too quickly. Have you lost touch with some aspect of yourself? Is your lover, friend, or opportunity disappearing? Are you afraid or insecure about losing a relationship? Do you fear being alone? You may need to work on your self-esteem. What a weird paragraph
That
for the
sounds
Dream
like
Bible.
someone else wrote that paragraph, not our regular Dream Bible guy. He doesn't usually give advice.
Yeah. Alternatively, a disappearing person or object may reflect your fading interest in a person or situation. To dream that you are disappearing from others may represent feelings of being overlooked or being irrelevant. You may feel that you are not being noticed or recognized. Alternatively, the dream may be a sign that you are withdrawing from a relationship or wanting attention. Disappearing. That's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. So I would have expected some of it to resonate, but not really.
I'm just rereading it here. Object disappearing before your eyes.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't resonate because disappearing isn't like the right word for the mechanism that was, or the event that was occurring.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Because the photographs as memories thing actually tracks perfectly, because it was like every time I revisited a photo, it was different. So the thing didn't disappear before my eyes. It was like every time, like if you ever had a friend tell you the same story 3 times over the course of 6 months, and every time the story changes a little bit, because their memory, shifts it over time, but they haven't thought about the story in between each telling of it. So it's like each new visit, something about it, their memory has changed. That was the vibe with these pictures, was that, because I was stoked to have like invented dream photography. And so when I realized that like every time I looked at the picture, it was a little bit different, I was like worried that my proof was going away, the same way that when you wake up from a dream, you're like, I got to hold this in my head. I got to write it down for the pod. But you can kind of in real time feel the memory of a dream fading away. That's what I was worried was happening with my evidence of dream photography. Like it was fading away like a memory of a dream.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think what sticks out to me here is like that you are what was disappearing from the photographs, right? Or like you, like
from one
the
of
thing
them.
that, at least with 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
There was the trailer and then the hospital, right? And you weren't in the warehouse one.
No, that was some girl.
Some girl.
And I actually never disappeared from the hospital one. That was the last one I remember seeing.
Oh, okay. You were still in the hospital one.
Mm-hmm.
But you got the sense that the subjects were disappearing in all of those photographs.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. So, I mean, there's something in this disappearing thing about like having lost touch with an aspect of yourself. And so, yeah, I mean, if you've got like memories and skewed perception, and then maybe like, I don't know, maybe like losing part of yourself, or losing like a connection to, or like a real relationship with yourself or memory of yourself. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But like you said, disappear may not be the right interpretation. It's interesting. It feels like there's something there, but I'm not sure how to get to it.
Well, I'm getting a very like literal surface feeling about like I feel like on some level this dream does have to do with the very minor anxiety of forgetting my dreams and not having content for the pod. Because that part of like photographing the dreams and realizing they're fading was like, I don't know, it felt urgent. Like I had to be able to remember these dreams that I knew were dreams.
Yeah, we definitely sometimes we've all been having like meta dreams that are like a byproduct of the podcast.
Like what has been like maybe we should consider using the questions that we ask listeners when they submit dreams more often. Because like something we ask them is like, what has been on your mind the most the last couple of days? And I feel like that can be really informative.
Yeah. Well, that would have to be moving Shelby out here.
Yeah.
Because we actually pulled the trigger. We made like a commitment to get her out here yesterday. Like we decided that we're going to do it Labor Day weekend.
Awesome.
We'd been kicking around that date for a minute, but yesterday we were like, this seems like the minimal amount of time that we can have to make necessary arrangements.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got to get a plane ticket out there. I got to take time off work. She has to put her notice in at her job and find a new one here.
Yeah.
And so we were like, yeah, if we want to do it that weekend, we probably have to start doing things now. So let's just go ahead and commit.
Sometimes I would say like the last maybe 5 dreams that you've done have been about that. And sometimes working backwards can be useful. I mean, I certainly have been working backwards a little bit because I know what's like on my mind. But so maybe that is a good place for us to start.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. It does seem like, I don't know, in our experience to be like 99 times out of 100 is what you're thinking about now. There's this like notion that dreams can be rooted in like childhood stuff or like dredge up a random memory from long ago that like impacted who you are. So there's always part of me that's like, well, let's look through the whole toy box, you know?
Right.
But it almost never is so far. It is like what you're thinking about.
Yeah, and when it does dredge up a memory or like for me, like childhood stuff is coming up a lot because I'm thinking about it a lot. Like I'm like doing childhood trauma work. Like so it's on my mind. And like I feel like dreams are it seems like they're always bringing content that is like relevant to your current state of being, your current worries and concerns and the things you need to work on and the things that are troubling you, you know?
Yeah. And memory definitely, you know, that thing about this being about coming up with content for the pod, like as a meta dream was like half a joke. I have been worrying about that lately because I feel like I haven't remembered a dream in a long time. And then my brain was like, well, here's one about memory, about remembering dreams and literally photographing dreams. And I think that may be like one service level interpretation, but like the idea of memory and forgetting here, actually forgetting feels like a better word than disappearing.
Yeah. Like that mechanic, that feels like the same thing of me. Lately, I will have a dream and then almost immediately tell somebody in the dream that I just had, and it's to remember it. And I do it. That actually helps me remember it because it's like part of the dream was that I said everything that just happened again.
It's like doing your homework a week before the deadline.
Yeah.
You're dream journaling in the dream.
It's those dreams I've remembered more than any other dreams.
If we want to keep doing Dream Bible stuff, I pulled up Yourself.
I'm really curious about the golden bird's nest.
Oh, yeah. That was a really weird standout image.
Yeah. Well, let's look at Nest. But I also pulled up Yourself and I pulled up Forgotten. So we can roll around with it. We might need to pull up Golden separately. But to dream of a nest represents awareness of your goals or desires being possible if you are patient enough. Notice everything you want to happen slowly developing. Comfort, safety, protection, homeliness, or new opportunities.
What? Homeliness?
Homeliness. HOMELINESS.
As in like of the home, or as in
I think so, yeah.
Like ugly.
I think of the home.
Of the home. Alternatively, what does that say?
Alternatively, the nest could also reflect emotional dependency, which kind of makes sense, right? It's like a baby bird in a nest. Yeah. Oh. To dream of a nest filled with eggs represents a lot of potential for things to happen in your life if you are patient.
Oh, shit.
That's interesting.
Almost like all of that tied to the thing I just said about Shelby moving here.
Yeah.
Like patiently waiting for stability and a home. Like we're trying to move in together.
Sure. Yeah.
We're not trying. We're going to move in together. It's the wheels are turning. There's no going back now.
Can we see golden just while we're on the nest?
Okay.
And there was one egg in the nest.
Oh, okay.
Also golden.
To dream of gold represents feelings about something in your life having the perception of being valuable that is easily seen, a sense of something in your life being precious that other people believe is precious as well, a feeling of wealth or enjoying having something you value all to yourself, someone or something precious to you, valuable opportunities or possibilities that are available to you all the time, feeling secure in your level of power or freedom to do as you please, a guaranteed experience or reward, a sense of security with something you value, immense value and importance of the love and commitment you have from another person, emotional wealth, and sense of security. Consider the saying, good as gold, the potential to make a difference in one's life or the lives of others. And there's a negatively, if it felt like an ominous golden nest.
It was
Is that the only part of the photographs that didn't feel? Because it sounded like the photographs in general were like really creeping you out, right?
They were unsettling, yeah, but they weren't threatening.
Okay. Well, just out of curiosity, let's read the negative, just for educational purposes for the listener. Negatively, dreaming about gold may represent an obsession with material possessions or a fear of losing something valuable, a lack of appreciation for the intangible aspects of life, such as love and relationships, using people for their perceived value, greed or desire for power and control. May also represent a false sense of security or an inflated ego, where the dreamer believes they are more important or valuable than others. In extreme cases, dreaming of gold may indicate a corrupt or immoral nature, where the dreamer is willing to do anything to obtain wealth and status. Feelings of corruption,
Sounds
excess,
just like Zach.
or someone
Yeah.
being spoiled with too much security.
No,
Enemies that have secure power. Sorry, go
Zach
ahead.
is actually a cartoon villain who rubs his little hands together.
Yeah.
and what the duck that dives under the pile of gold.
Mhm.
Trying a blank on that. Wasn't that like Donald Duck's uncle or something?
Scrooge McDuck is who you're thinking of.
Okay, yeah. All the nest and egg stuff really resonated with the Shelby thing. And obviously there's a big portion of our conversation yesterday in deciding to commit to this was kind of anxiety ridden because it was talking about we were talking about pragmatic steps that are a little overwhelming.
That makes sense.
But in that particular sequence where it goes from me to like an old me to the nest with the egg, because we've talked about old men before several times on this podcast
Yeah.
and what that represents, like wisdom and whatever.
Yeah.
Assertiveness.
If it's an old man, yeah. Wisdom for all old people generally.
Old men are like assertiveness and aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to go into the yourself entry because that would be the first in this sequence. My thinking is it goes from whatever I represent to like this wise assertiveness to this like positive, wholesome outcome that requires patience. Like that feels like a narrative through line, But I'm curious what this straightforward photo of me means.
To dream of seeing yourself in a third-person perspective represents awareness of your own actions or behaviors. The dreamer's perception of themselves, including both their flaws and positive attributes. Consider what you are doing, how you look, or how old you are for additional significance. Alternatively, dreaming about yourself may represent feelings about your self-image, self-worth, or how you perceive your persona in the waking world. You might be grappling with issues of identity, self-confidence, or acceptance of a personal trait or situation. To dream of a younger version of yourself may represent your awareness of your actions or behaviors being more innocent, childish, less responsible, rebellious, or naive in a current situation. Awareness of yourself not being as intelligent in a situation as you usually are. Feelings about yourself being a novice or having room to grow up in a particular area of your life. Which you saw a younger version of yourself in the hospital bed, right?
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Like a self-awareness, I mean, if I was going to take a shot at what I'm getting out of like the disappearance from the picture, like the shifting of the photos, it's like, there's a lot going on. There's been a lot going on. You've had a lot on your plate. You're stressed out. You're trying to push your career forward. You're trying to move Shelby out. There's a lot going on. And you said the other day when we were recording, like, oh man, I wish I had more time for music and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's probably a degree to which you are not giving yourself time and attention, or like that you were not tuned into yourself, or maybe you're, wearing yourself down a little bit, in the pursuit of these things. And so it's possible that like that is representing you feeling some kind of disconnection from yourself. That'd be my guess.
There's a couple of things that have come up that have said self-image and self-perception. And that's just very interesting to be talking about in a photograph, right? Because it's literally an image of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been having some minor self-esteem stuff lately.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That's
real
in like 3 of these entries too.
Yeah, it's real run of the mill. Like I'm like 5 pounds heavier than I want to be. It's real. It's nothing dramatic. It's just like pretty basic human kind of like not a deep self-esteem thing, but like a very generic one. But I've been thinking about it.
Of course, you'd have boring self-esteem issues, Zach. Jeez,
I'm
of
saying
course.
human, relatable.
Yeah.
The kind of thing that like everybody worries about from time to time.
Yeah.
When it comes to their own self-image. But I have in the past, when I got out of that 3-year relationship with the person that had borderline personality disorder, my self-esteem was totaled. And I spent a few years over, like pretty much the years of the pandemic, like actively rebuilding like a self-image. And I'm in a better place than I started, obviously, because now I wouldn't get into that relationship to begin with. But that may be totally beside the point. It came up in the entry.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good place to be, right? It's like continuously self-building. All right, last entry I'm going to ramble on, and then we can just discuss. But forgotten, because you said that might be a more apt description than disappearing. To dream of forgetting to do something may reflect feelings of oversight, neglect, or distraction, lost opportunities, having let someone down. To dream of an object being forgotten, which maybe is closer, represents feelings about some area of your life being abandoned or neglected. The abandoned self. Not caring or tending to something enough, feeling irresponsible, feelings of horror or remorse about your neglectful actions or a major oversight, feeling of sadness or guilt that haunt you for something you didn't do properly. Alternatively, forgotten objects in a dream may reflect areas of your life that have long been overlooked, suppressed, or abandoned, an aspect of your personality that feels less dominant than it used to. And there's to dream of forgetting your baby, to dream of forgetting information.
Yeah, that seems close.
Information?
Right?
Yeah, that's right. To dream of forgetting information in a dream often mirrors waking life. It may also problems accepting or adjusting to change. The reality of a situation has not fully sunk in yet. Embarrassment that something you've done in waking life can't be easily repeated.
To dream of forgetting to wear your hat.
I hate when that
forgetting your
happens.
gun. Oh, there are separate paragraphs for forgetting your baby and forgetting your child.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot in there that felt like it tied to the first dream. That I heard the word guilt, embarrassment, stuff about
remorse, sadness or guilt that haunt you for not having done something properly.
Yeah. That thematic.
Does that tie to your like personal experiences at all? Like,
I'm having a hard time with that part in a specific way, but thematically that seems to connect to the first dream. And where I was starting to get with the second dream, the photograph part is so that string of images from like my current self to my old self to the golden nest. Like the message I got there from my subconscious was like, if you just grow the fuck up, you'll get the things you want that require patience. Patience is part of growing the fuck up. And then the other side of the coin to that was me in the hospital 10 years ago, where I ended up because I didn't sleep for a week like an idiot, like completely ignoring all self-care stuff in pursuit of like all these this degree I was trying to get and these 3 jobs I was working to pay for college and like yada yada, like just complete recklessness that landed me in the hospital 10 years ago. That's like the opposite end of that journey, or the beginning part of that journey, I guess.
Well, and I wouldn't say, I mean, you're framing it as recklessness, but it could also be like taking things too seriously, which is kind of what happened in the first part of your dream, right? You end up hurting yourself and causing a problem because you're taking a situation as far more serious than it actually is, or you're treating it with like like gravity that ends up like damaging you. You know what I mean? It's like if like when you let the stresses of life like penetrate to the place where you start acting kind of crazy and like not taking care of yourself or doing things that are kind of irrational or like having too big of a reaction to stuff. And then you end up like blowing things up because you were not giving things the appropriate amount of care, you know? It's like maybe like a mindfulness thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like
Do you know
that's,
what I'm saying?
yeah, like that's the lesson in the photograph part, and the fear therein is of like forgetting that lesson. Because that was a big part of the feeling in that part of the dream was like, oh shit, I'm going to lose these photographs. I'm going to lose this tangible thing that I've acquired that plugs me into that. And I think the photographs themselves were like eerie and unsettling because there's some like uncomfortable truths in there. But what I was really concerned about in the dream was holding on to them for their value.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. So do you feel like when you talk about the value of those photographs, like we kind of talk surface level of like, oh, I have a dream. I've invented dream photography. Like I'm a genius. I'm gonna make $1 million dream dollars. But like it sounds like in waking life on reflection, you feel like there was like important meaning there. Like yeah, do you feel like you've come away like there was what do you feel like the lesson was of the photographs, or what do you feel like those photographs were trying to tell you?
I feel like they might have been outlining this mindfulness thing, this like a life lesson that has to do with being patient and deliberate and taking care of everything and not getting so wrapped up in one thing that you drop the ball on other courts. That was super vague, but it's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of balls in the air, I feel like, with this dream.
Yeah. I think I don't know, when you talk about this stuff, it sounds like, to me at least, it sounds like you're under a lot of pressure. You're putting yourself under a lot of pressure. And when you try and come away with the lesson, it's like, I need to be more serious and more diligent. I need to try even harder. And I think maybe that's going to fuck you up. I think you should maybe like take a breath and try and relax a little bit. And that'll help you do the hard stuff that needs to get done if you're able to.
Yeah. Well, I guess by deliberate, I meant slow. Like, because like I said, I feel like there's this double-sided thing. There's like a photograph of like a lesson that I learned 10 years ago in the hospital. And then there's the golden nest egg that is like represents a future with this old man who represents, the wisdom of like patience and or at least that's what I'm getting out of it. And it's like this litany of life lessons, and then the panic and the anxiety in the dream is like holding. If I don't forget those, then I'm going to end up killing some dude in a field because I thought it was a real war.
I pulled up warehouse just out of curiosity, just because that seems to be the one that we've kind of like
glossed over.
To dream of a warehouse represents resources, ideas, or goals that are on hold. A warehouse may also reflect your memories. Goals
weird.
that are on hold.
And it ties directly into memory.
Yeah, it's directly connected to memory. Alternatively, a warehouse may represent your feeling of having everything you need at your disposal. Your personal storehouse of possibility or potential, your arsenal or tools to succeed. To dream of putting something in a warehouse, that's not what you did here. To dream of an empty warehouse was an empty warehouse or an abandoned warehouse?
Yeah, abandoned.
To dream of an abandoned warehouse represents a loss of motivation to be resourceful or educated. You don't care about saving, reading up, or being ready for problems anymore. You've lost interest in something. That's interesting.
That has come up in a few entries too, like losing interest or like disconnecting from things.
Yeah. It's like, it's possible, like if you're under so much stress, or you're feeling so much pressure, like maybe, like letting go of some things or like putting some things on the back burner that actually are important, to your overall well-being. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I also I feel that at work a lot lately. Like I'm just so ready to do Weaponized, the podcast that I work on. I'm so ready to do that full time, and it's another matter of patience on that front. But the job that I'm doing in the meantime has been really annoying and impossible to win at.
Right.
So
yeah.
I've lost a great deal of interest in that job, and I'm just kind of going through the motions, trying not to get in trouble.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I would tie that to.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tie like every tendril of this dream to like one idea, but definitely the biggest thing on my mind lately is Shelby's move here, and this coming right after our conversation about all the minutia and how to make that happen.
Yeah.
It all feels related because it was like a hour and a half long kind of stressful conversation with like 30 minutes at the end where we were like, yeah, no, this makes sense. We got this. You know, like it ended on that tone of like, you know what? I think we're overthinking this. I think we're stressing out. I think it's all going to be fine. But that was only a quarter of the conversation. The most of it was like, is this going to work? Can you find a job in, you know, X amount of days? Like, what if you don't? What's our backup plan? Like, how long can we crash at this place before we have to find a new one? What if we can't find, like, it was a lot of that before we got to like, you know what? This is so doable. We're zoomed in too much, and we're freaking out about a lot of what ifs.
It's a big move and a big transition for both of you.
Yeah.
But so like it makes sense to like be anxious about it just in general. And I find that anxiety begs you to pin it on things. And so like it makes sense to just be anxious about moving in with somebody, you know, that makes sense. Like, or having someone move out there to move in with you. Like, that's a big deal. It makes sense to have anxiety. That's totally normal. And like, I think, like, yeah, it can be easy to like get really caught up in like worrying about details of it when yeah, there's not much you can do but to just move forward and do it, right?
Yeah, we're kind of at a one day at a time place where we do as much as we can that's available to us every day. But it's mostly just being patient. You know, we have these goalposts to hit, but yeah, for the most part, we're just gonna have to like do it and roll with the punches and deal with the stressors as they happen. And some of the things we're stressing out about may not happen at all.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's the type of anxiety that this dream is about, is that like fear of fucking up, fear of forgetting lessons that I've already learned, or like know subconsciously, but I'm afraid I won't tap into them and utilize them, even like, well, maybe especially if that advice is to not stress out so much.
Yeah. Well, like there's a certain freedom in having made a decision and pulled the trigger on something. You know what you're doing now, right? So now that you know what you're doing, just, you know, control the things you can and try to not stress out about the things you can't. And I mean, yeah, just trying to find a way to kind of like regenerate a little, or like not be constantly like activated to like, just say, as someone that's like constantly got like some low level anxiety buzz going, like the more you can turn that down, the probably better off you'll be, because like you said, like at this stage you're just gonna have to take it a day at a time and deal with problems as they come up, and do, like, you know what prep you need to do and you're doing it, right? So what else can you do?
I think yeah, or in other words, like the serenity prayer, right?
Yeah.
That's a good one that I hear all the time and could do better about.
Yeah. Lately I've been thinking a lot about like how much better I'll feel all around when we're just like in our apartment together. And a lot of the stuff that I'm stressing out about right now is behind us.
I know this may not be possible in your gross apartment that you share with other adult men, but like I feel like you need to take a bubble bath.
Not possible. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's speaking of like limited privacy in this tiny, gross apartment. I haven't been remembering a lot of dreams, but I know I've been having a lot of shit dreams.
Oh.
I had a dream.
So have you been shitting successfully or pent up shit?
Oh, I've been eating broccoli every night. My movements have been incredible. But I've been having a lot of like what was that? That was our first episode, wasn't it? The poop episode?
Yes, it was.
I've been having a lot of dreams along those lines. I remember one, all I remember is this part is I was living in the same place as like 12 people and and the toilet jammed. And instead of fixing the problem, people were pooping on top of each other's poop. And then when it crested the water level, they were just taking handfuls of it and sticking it on the back of the tank.
Oh my God.
Man.
And I woke up wanting to vomit, dude.
That's vile.
It's awful.
But as listeners will recall from that episode, it has like lack of privacy. It was like an overwhelming theme in that dream. And that definitely plays right into like me wanting to get out of here and just live with my girlfriend who I don't feel the need to be private around. So
it's going to be a clean bathroom.
Yeah, we're definitely not going to
sparkling
dump on each other's dumps.
And if you do, it'll be because you want to.
It'll be like a cute couple thing.
Right.
Yeah, no, I feel like that dream is mostly cracked. Most of that resonated. I still, there's like a weird ominous feeling with the like photograph part that like maybe it's just the images themselves, like the way they hit me, and then the creepy hand on the back of the head thing that we didn't get into. Maybe the whole thing was just a haunting, but I feel like there's a little bit more that like I'll continue to meditate on, but like in terms of how this reflects what I've been thinking about, like I feel like we got there.
Yeah.
I think you were really onto something when you said like the creepiness means it's a part of yourself that you're maybe like not able to sit comfortably with. It reminds me of like my doppelganger dream, right? Where like the thing that was so repellent about it and creepy about it is like it's like stuff I'm not able to look at or able to like fully process, you know? And in the same way, you know, it could just be something you're not ready for or that you have like a lot of resistance to.
Yeah, wasn't that Steve that was talking about how when you have a nightmare, the thing that you're most scared of is what you should probably be running toward?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that he said something along those lines.
Yeah, because it's it's the part of yourself that you're scared to incorporate into your conscious whole or whatever. Like more often if you meet the monster in a dream, you're more likely to like give it a hug than be devoured by it.
Yeah. That's why that poltergeist was just trying to gently rub the back of my head to tell me everything is going to be okay.
Yeah, it's trying to ruffle your hair.
I
like,
give you a
"It's
little
okay, buddy."
scalp massage.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Where do your dreams come from? And what do they really mean? What do they really mean?
I'm so scared of my belly button turning inside out.
Is that a thing that happens?
Like, yeah, when your belly gets big, like too big, your belly button just like pops out and becomes an outie.
But then it goes back in when you give birth, right?
Yeah, but I don't know what's in there.
You just don't want to have an outie. You just one day hear a few like coins hit the floor. Did you guys watch Face Off yet?
Yeah,
Face
we did.
Off.
Hell yeah.
As you're not really Olivia's kind of movie.
No?
I enjoyed it.
Did you?
I don't
Okay.
like action movies,
It's not
but I
an
enjoyed
action.
it.
Oh, okay. See, you said you like weird Nick Cage movies, but
I do.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love weird Nick Cage
you
movies.
meant weird.
That made up for the action.
But I think they should have switched the roles.
That's right.
You meant like Wicker Man weird.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I feel like Nick Cage is a better villain. And so I feel like they should have swapped it where he was the villain in the middle, because then he would have spent like 90% of the movie being the villain instead of only like 10%. Stronger movie instantly.
I could see that. I really loved him as the hero in Mandy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to rewatch that.
Yeah, me too. I got a little bit too high when I watched Mandy, which made the like cinematography of it, like the color scheme and everything, like unbelievable. But I also feel like I didn't retain it very well. Like I know what happened, you know, it wasn't a complicated movie, but it's worth a sober watch for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. It's amazing. I love how just like you get a third of the way into it and you're like, wait a minute, this is a Conan the Barbarian movie.
Yeah, it's so badass. I watched it with my girlfriend at the time, and she the next day told me that I would not stop saying that. My high ass on the couch every 5 minutes going, this is so badass.
We watched that on our second date. I had just moved into my old apartment, which Victor moved in shortly after.
On your
But
third date?
Well, I started spending the night every night.
yeah,
I didn't officially move in for quite a while after
that's
that.
true. Yeah, like 6 months. But on our second day, I didn't have internet yet, and he wanted to show me Mandy, and so he like bought it on Blu-ray and like dragged his PlayStation over to my place in a milk crate.
Yes, I did.
Oh, yeah.
He like, yeah,
I think you told me about this at work.
yeah, and then I said, "I love you." No,
That
but
night.
basically.
Pretty much. Yeah. You've been listening to The Young and the Restless.
You can follow us on Instagram at thejungandtherestlesspod and submit your dreams for interpretation to thejungandtherestlesspod@gmail.com.
And as we always say, winner,
Winner, flush the shitter.
You